So welcome to a new edition of the Authentic Leadership Roadshow. My name is Helena de Munk. I am your host. I am a transformation guide for smart, conscious, and high-achieving women. And with the Authentic Leadership Roadshow, I want to bring a platform with women role models, women that have a mission, a vision, and a story to share with you. And I hope you get inspired, encouraged, and motivated by the successes and sometimes also the struggles that you will hear from. And today I am thrilled to be in the company of Fatima. And Fatima Correia da Silva is a 39-year-old Portuguese woman who has risen to top leadership positions both abroad and in her home country. For 9 years, Fatima has worked in Angola, strengthening her skills in forensic accounting and investigations. And upon returning to Portugal, she spent 11 successful years at EY, one of the largest professional services networks in the world. And there, Fatima specialized in forensic accounting and investigations. In her most recent role, Fatima became the first woman to hold the dual titles of Chief Compliance Officer and General Counsel at Critical Software, a global technology company based in Portugal. Used to working in male-dominated fields, Fatima believes the key is setting clear expectations and boundaries to allow us women to achieve our full potentials. Through nearly 2 decades of experience abroad and in challenging roles, Fatima has proven that with focus and determination, women can rise to the highest levels of leadership. And she's now dedicated to empowering and guiding other professionals, especially women and youth. So she is the most ideal person to have this interview with. Welcome, Fatima. I am thrilled to have you here.
Thank you very much, Elena. I am thrilled to be here, and I hope that this conversation will be inspirational for the people that will be listening to us.
Absolutely. I'm sure about that. So just as a starting question, what initially drew you to a career in forensics and compliance? Because those are fields that are pretty male dominated. And I'm interested to find out why you chose that for that and also how you navigate that as a woman.
That's an excellent question. So I will go back. I will just go a bit backwards. So when I decided to go to law school, that was something that my parents were very against to, because for them, the ideal girl or their child would be, for example, a teacher of English and German, studying very close to home, or with a university that I could probably drive and come back. So that would be their ideal degree for their child. I decided to go to law school. Law now it's a a degree that has many women. So in the past it was very male dominated. Nowadays it's not. So here in Portugal there's a balance. I mean, probably a non-balance because you have more women than men. So I went to law school, and then when I finished it, I studied in Coimbra, so I had to live there. My parents rented me a room with other roommates and so on. So that was a huge change in my life because I was very pampered and very cuddled so I had always like someone to take me to school, take me back. So I was always very well taken care of. So I kind of grew up very quickly when I went to university, and then after 5 years, I did my internship for the lawyers bar in Portugal. I didn't know actually if I wanted to become a lawyer or not, but that was the normal path that usually the law students would take. So I just follow. And then I decided that after 2 years, more or less, that was not my thing. I mean, law, yes, being a lawyer, yes, but not in those fields like, for example, real estate or family, or that was not my preference, or crime, for example. That's also something that I really don't like to do. So I decided to join EY. And when you join a big four, your world, it changes, it collapses. So I changed again the city because I'm from a small city next to Porto. I went to Coimbra to study, then I came back to Porto to do my internship for the lawyers bar. Then when I joined UI in 2009, I had to move to Lisbon because that was the only job vacancy they had open at the time. 2009 was a very difficult year in Portugal because of the economic crisis. So I had to move again. So I don't know how many times I moved already during my life. So I went to Lisbon, and I started actually working in the tax departments. So I was doing personal income tax, international tax. So I was more tax related. Then when the opportunity to go to Angola comes up in 2011, I joined the project that was going on for the government of Angola. And when I landed there, I actually didn't know exactly what was going on because it was a very confidential project. So they did not disclose many details about what you were going to do. The only thing you knew basically was you were going to work for the public sector. So when I landed there, I just realized I was entering a new world because that project was exclusively within the scope of forensic investigation and dispute services. That was an area that we didn't have in Portugal by the time. So in 2011, we didn't have it. But the engagement was based in London. And because it was based in London, they had this FIDS area, forensic investigation and dispute services.
Maybe, Fatima, for our audience that is not familiar with this terminology, what exactly is this forensic investigation?
So basically, when this forensic investigation team is called by the client, for example, imagine that you have something going on in your company, you are suspicious about some fraud occurring, you have some suspicions about bribery in for example, your procurement process, something is not matching, you cannot reconcile your accounts for some reason and your auditors cannot find it, or you have some misconduct from an employee, or you are suspicious about some conflicts of interests, then you would engage with this kind of services and with this kind of team. Because this forensics team, it's composed by different professionals. So you have, for example, I am a certified fraud examiner from ACFE, which is the only association of fraud examiners. And then you have a background, which is a legal background. You go through all the documents, contracts, you review all the things. Then you have IT experts that they go into the machines, they collect all the information, they can analyze what has been downloaded, uploaded, by whom. We run extensive researches, for example, in the inbox and outbox, searching for keywords. Imagine that we are suspicious that the fraud keyword is banana. So we are going to run all your inbox and outbox for that keyword and try to make all the connections possible and trying to link it with the people that possible the fraudster was engaging with. So you have different professionals in the team that will make sure that they will try to find the root cause of whatever is happening in your company. So it's a very extensive work. So when I landed there, I realized that I was going to be part of that. And that was a huge surprise because I was working 24/7, like in the client. So every day we were going to the client. My day was spent there from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., working with them in a coaching perspective as well, running interviews with possible fraudsters and people committing, you start always with the assumption that people are innocent, and they are, till you find something. But you need to run some difficult interviews also that touches. You need to touch the points, and you need to try to connect it the most you can. And that's not something easy when you are like less experienced and you are a foreigner in a different country. Although we spoke the same language, and that of course was a bonus for us. But still, like, you need to keep a very serious attitude. You need to be very focused, and you need to kind of conquer your small space over there because they don't see it. No one likes to be investigated. That's point number one. And point number two, usually people don't see it very well when they see foreigners and mainly young females doing the job as well.
Okay. Let me go back, Fatima, because you were telling me that when you graduated from high school, you were very cuddled and protected, and your parents had certain expectations for you in terms of your studies, your career. You did something different, yeah. And then you moved from Porto to Lisbon, and then you moved many, many places, and then you took this job in Angola, which is not basically the most safe country in the world. So what is it that you have, and what is it that other women can develop and grow in terms of mindsets, in terms of skills, in order to do that, to just go for what you think at that moment is the right thing to do, even if you might, if that might be disappointing for the people that care for you and that had other expectations. What is it?
I think that you need to be very well resolved with yourself and brave.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm,
it's like the others. Of course, your parents will love you more than everything in the world. And well, my father passed away already, but I love them um, in the more beautiful way I can imagine. But still, I mean, first you need to put yourself first. You need to love yourself
mhm,
first. It's self-love, and
mhm,
it's self-care. And my story specifically, I lived a long time in my life with this feeling that I have disappointed them because I have an older sister. She's 11 years older than I am, but she was born, unfortunately, with a mental disease. So she's a mental handicap, let's say. So she's
mhm,
a child. I would call her a child because that's how her mind works. Although she's 51 almost, but she can't read, she can't write. So she's totally dependent on my mother right now
mhm,
to carry on. So what happened is like my parents, they put all the expectations from that they had for her on me. So I had to carry
mhm,
both expectations from my sister and for myself.
mhm,
And of course, they tried to protect me and they tried to do the best they could to guide me through the right way and the way they thought it would be easier for me. But at a certain point, I had to, take that leap of faith and think, okay, I know that they are trying to do their best, but it's not about them. And I cannot carry that weight. I will disappoint them, yes. And I still know that my mother has that small itch on her heart about that because
mhm,
she would prefer to have me closer to her and so on. But you need to put yourself first, because if you spend your life caring about others' expectations and trying to please others, that will never work, because different people have different expectations, and then you will forget about who you are and about where you want to go and what do you want to achieve. So
mhm,
it was not easy to break that bond. It was not easy to live with that kind of feeling with myself. But I mean, you need to take the courage, whether you take that leap of faith or you don't. And there is a
mhm,
moment. If you wait too much, I think then you won't be able to do it because you are already too swallowed by the system.
mhm.
So you need to find the right moment to do it, which should be as soon as possible. So um, I think we need to, as I said, put ourselves in first place.
Mhm. Yeah,
Nevertheless, we are disappointing others, yes, but we'll
yeah,
always be disappointing someone.
I understand. And I think we are conditioned to put others first, especially as women. It is in our history, it is in our culture, it's in our education. I think it's even epigenetic. So it is very hard to do that, to disappoint other people and to make that choice for you. And by making the choice for you, you also make a choice for a lot of other people. I mean, in the positive side, it's just that it doesn't look like that at first. And I know many women who tell me that basically they live the lives that other people want for them. And some of them succeed in breaking free. And you say you have to do it as soon as possible. Absolutely, I agree with you. And still, there are people who do it. I know some women who do it after, having already a career of 10, 15, or 20 years, and they just don't feel fulfilled. They don't feel complete. And sometimes it is because something is happening, something disruptive is happening, and they say, well, okay, wait a minute, what am I doing? Who am I in this story? Who I am in my story? And even then, they find the courage to shift and to basically go after what they really were meant to go after. But I think the example that you give your story, and thank you so much for sharing that, is again very resonating and is a very big encouragement for everybody listening to this story and to this interview. To see what are you doing and why are you doing it, and is this really what you want to do, because it is extremely important. Absolutely. So thank you for sharing that. And your story comes from basically a tragic context in your family. So I guess there must be blame and guilt that has been involved when you made that decision. I can only imagine. And so I wonder, Fatima, where did you build the strength, and did you find specific resources or support of other people or of, I don't know, spiritual or whatever, in order to make those decisions and take those leaps of faith?
Well, I need to tell you that in terms of religion, there was a time in my life that I was very Catholic. So I was actually providing lessons to younger people when I was actually during university. I was actually doing that. I had a very strong Catholic background. Actually, my name is a very Catholic name. Was also a promise that my mother made. If the second child would be born normal or without any kind of disease. So there's a very strong Catholic background. But nowadays I don't have it. I mean, I didn't lose my faith. My faith is there, but it's not in a specific entity. So it's not in God, it's not in Buddha, it's not in the universe. It's something that I can't explain. It's some kind of strength that I feel, some kind of energy that I feel, and that makes me believe that I do not walk alone. But I cannot connect it with any religion right now. After studying different religions and after reading a lot about it, I prefer to have this different energy belief rather than connecting it to a specific religion. I feel more free, and I feel more empowered if I have this freedom of thoughts, let's say. But in terms of how I got the nerve and the courage to move forward, it's like I told myself, it's like, I'm not gonna, okay, I have disappointed them in terms of choosing my path. It was not the one they realized or they dreamt for me, but I'm gonna prove them I'm the best. So I was always the first one to arrive at the class. I was always the best student. I was always putting the extra mile, and I was proving them that I was right. I was actually studying for something that I was skilled for, that I had inspiration for, and that I really wanted to be there, and I deserved to be there. So yeah, there was a huge sacrifice involved, also because I was the first one to graduate from my family, so my parents didn't have any kind of degree. So being the first one is also always very difficult. First, because they didn't have any kind of superior background in terms of school to help me or to guide me. Second, because we were always a normal family, modest family. So there was a big pressure, like whether she can do it or not, and how will she do it? Will she be successful? Because so many people graduate per year in law in Portugal that if you are not one of the best, then you will never get your proper place, or you will just be another one. And unfortunately, that's not enough if you want to be in the spotlight, or if you want to do something greater. Yeah. So I proved that I worked very, very hard. So people were partying and people were drinking, and we all know how university is, and it's a wonderful time. But for me, it was really a time of sacrifice and of studying. I knew that I had those 5 years to finish my degree, and after those 5 years, I would have no more financing from my parents to do so. So for me, it was really hardworking. I had pleasure. I always had pleasure in studying and finding new things and so on, but it was really hardworking. Then when I started working, the same. It's like there is always time to have fun, and I love to have fun, and I'm just as normal as everyone. but I really go to the extra mile because I do believe that it's like 10% is talent, but 90% is work. So if you want to succeed, if you really want to prove the other people that probably they were not as right as they thought they were, and that your beliefs and your intuition was correct, you need to prove that with your own work, with your own merits, with your own success. But to have success, you need to go through some pain as well, because it doesn't come for free.
Absolutely. What is your definition of success, Fatima? Why do you do it?
I do it to feel fulfilled, but success has different, you can look at it in different manners or different views. There's a personal success, probably very connected to happiness, but happiness to me, well, can be different. It's a state of mind, whether you feel it or not. But personal success, for example, for many people would be to be married with, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 kids. I don't know, living in a beautiful house with a garden and with a swimming pool and so on. But this changes from person to person. For me, a personal success is very connected also to professional success and how I get fulfilled. I get fulfilled by doing what I do in the best way I can, by supporting the ones that I love the most. If it's in a financial terms, it's financial. If it's with love and care, it's with love and care. If it's by guiding them, leading them to do something, it is. If it's just by being there and listening, and it's by doing that. If it's at the work, it's like, I want to be there. I want to be the right arm. I want to be the supporting person. I want to be the person that they would call if something goes wrong. It's like, I will reach her. And for me, success is very connected to this. It's about being perceived by the others as someone that they can trust, being trustworthy on one hand. On the other hand, it's a sense of belonging and loyalty. That for me is success. It's not only collecting prizes, that's also great. And that's also for our own vanity and for our own pride. I mean, we all have this, and that's normal as well. We are just human beings, and we need to fulfill us in different ways. But it's more than that. It's about how the others perceive my development, how the others perceive how can I influence their lives, I think. Personal and professionally. That's super important. The failure feeling is something that, even if it's not a failure, if it's just something that I could have done better, that's something that I try to work on, because success is, you have your difficulties, you fail, you face them, and you grow from them. It's not you ignore, no. You take it seriously and you try to grow and to do something better.
Beautiful. These are basically two wise lessons in one. First of all, what I remember is that you, at the end of your expose, you were talking about failure, where a lot of people are ashamed to recognize their failure. They see it as like a personal thing, as a project that fails is reflecting, especially women do that they are not good or they are not good enough. Basically, what you are saying is that failure is a stepping stone to learning and to grow to success. It's an opportunity to redirect if you reflect on it and learn from it. And what I like a lot, Fatima, is how you are so clear in your definition of success and how you have different layers, if you want, of success. And for me, that's an invitation for everybody who is watching or listening to this interview. It is, are you aware of what is success for you? Do you have your own definition of success? And if you have, are you also capable of celebrating your successes? Because a lot of times I notice that we are taking our successes for granted, that we just, wave them away, sometimes focusing too much on what is not working or on what is not good enough. And I believe that if you have a clear definition of success, like you have, and you demonstrate it, that it is also easier to stand for who you are and stand for what you have achieved and stand for your successes. Does that make sense to you?
It does, Elena. And there's something very common and that I witness with different people, but mainly women. It's the imposter syndrome, something that you were just mentioning. People feel embarrassed about raising their hands and stating something different and thinking out of the box and challenging the status quo because they are afraid of being badly perceived, being probably too aggressive or too... that's something that really, I think it's more heart-touching for women than for men because they are probably more used to step forward and to say something different, and probably women are a bit more afraid of saying something. So there is a kind of they prefer to stay quiet because otherwise they will feel, well, this is probably I'm just showing off. But it's not about showing off. The thing is,
it's about showing up.
Exactly. If you do not show whatever you feel or whatever you know, or just sometimes it's just about brainstorming. But if you don't do it, I mean, how can the others guess what you were thinking? It's really impossible. And sometimes you're right, and sometimes your ideas will be taken into consideration, and sometimes you are wrong, and that's fine as well. You know, it's just normal. You're wrong, you're not thinking or you're not seeing the right angle, because there's always a blind spot. In whatever exposition you are doing, in whatever essay you are writing, there's always blind spots that you can never see. That's normal. We are just human beings, just two eyes, and we get tired eyes after a while. So it's very important to brainstorm and to discuss. And if you are failing, that's fine. Just assume it, embrace it. Yeah, okay, sorry, I didn't see it coming. That's why it's a blind spot. And we all have ours. So
Absolutely.
it's just not that the more famous CEO in the world doesn't have them. He has. He just has people to advise on a very constant manner that are looking from the outside and that are able to advise before those blind spots hit that person. For on a normal basis, on a daily basis, we learn from those blind spots when we fail, because we do not have those hand of the kings or those advisors that are constantly looking after us. So you need to go with everything, just make your homework, make sure that you have studied the subject, that you are empowered to speak about that. Because always like just making some guesses, it's not cool, I would say. You do not conquer respect and confidence from third parties if you are not very knowledgeable about what you're speaking or about what you're discussing. You should make sure that you are at least very skilled to discuss that. There is always more skilled people. That's good, because otherwise we would not be learning anymore in the world and we would be completely stuck. There is always someone more skilled than we are, but we try to do our best. We do our homework, and then we go without fears, without any kind of embarrassment. We go and we share. And if we fail, that's fine. We apologize, we learn from that, and we continue. There's no shame about that. Everyone has that. It's just about like being vulnerable or showing yourself as vulnerable. It's not something bad, in my opinion. It's not easy to find the balance, because usually we try to wear our masks and to put our best coverage. Sometimes it's with makeup, sometimes it's with lipstick or whatever it is, because we are going to war, and we try to cover our weaknesses to try to look super empowered and so on. And that's good, because if you do not believe yourself, the others will not believe you. Okay, that's the first step. So I need to trust me. I need to trust myself, my work, my skills, my own work, my capabilities, my work, so that the others can feel that energy and they can also trust me. But at the same time, to gain that trust, I need to admit my vulnerabilities. Yes, I do have them, but who doesn't? You know, I did my best. I prepared myself. There was a blind spot, just fine. I fell, but I will recover, and I will make up for that. And at least in that one, I will not fail again. because in that way you start gaining trust from the others. Because being perceived as a machine or as something that doesn't fail, someone that does not fail, that creates a huge pressure on you, because you live with that super chilled around yourself on one hand, and then it sounds not authentic. It sounds fake, because in the end, it's just human beings.
Absolutely. Beautiful. And thank you for sharing. You mentioned there that the CEO has his, his knights, his advisors, his team that basically helps him to uncover his blind spots. I truly believe that we can all have our community of support, and we can have them through coaches, for example, but also we can have them through mentors. I believe that there's a lot more possibilities than we use in terms of mentorship, internal, within the corporation, within the organization, or external. And also role models are very important in order to see how other people deal with things and then model that. So in your career, did you or do you have role models and mentors that support you also in your decision-making process, in the big leaps you have to take, that bring you strength and some advice?
It's not very easy to find those role models in the work environment. Usually
Tell me
what
why.
I try it, usually I try to go by excluding what I do not want to become. So when you have one or two bosses, or I don't know how many, so you start going by exclusion. So I do not want to become that person. I do not want to do that. I do not want to lead by that kind of strength or by that kind of opinion. So I started by the negative. So what kind of person or what kind of leader I do not want to become? So what are the kind of role models that I do not want to copy from? So you start thinking about things that you do not want to do. And then you start excluding things. Finding a proper role model that can be inspirational, really inspirational during your career. I mean, I probably found one during my career, and he was a man. But the way that he led the teams, the way that he understood and he stopped everything, for example, just to listen to you and to listen to your issue, and that he made you feel valuable, for example, even though his hour was charged at, I don't know, 1,000 euros per hour. The way that he made you feel valuable, that was something that I really appreciated. So I think I found one role model in my career. The others, I was finding some characteristics. So yeah, person A has something that I would like to have, person B or person C. But unfortunately, the majority were men, because women are not still in that position. At least I haven't found many.
Yeah. Do you mean that they're not there, or do you mean that the women in those positions are not exactly role modeling a behavior and a leadership that you want to apply?
In my job and in my reality, they are not there yet. So there are many women. I mean, company actually it's composed by men majority, because it's about software development, so it's a more male engineering world. So but still, it's like they are not the females that are working, they are not in the position of, for example, for leadership. They are still in other kind of operational roles and so on, so they are not there yet. What I see and what I have seen in other companies and from other examples is that when they are, sometimes they are so overwhelmed because they have done so many things to get there. Sometimes they have families, sometimes they have kids, sometimes they have gave up about having kids or having families. They have to make choices and so on. So they are so overwhelmed about how I got here to the top. How am I going to maintain this position? How am I going to keep the challenge moving? That they kind of forget about how mentoring is important for the younger professionals. This is something that I also have assisted. So they are so overwhelmed. It's so heavy so much weight on their shoulders sometimes that they are so focused on that, on maintaining that, on developing their business and so on, that they kind of don't have time for mentoring. And that's something that it's a shame, because there's so many things that we could learn from each other, like you were doing, for example. And it's by listening to other failures and to other successes that we can start shaping our own path.
Exactly.
But not very easy to find.
Yeah. In the preparation of our interview, you put something about staying hungry and humble. I really like that expression. So what does that mean to you, and how have these qualities helped you in your career?
Well, stay hungry, stay humble. First of all, is like I will start with the hungry, because you need to be always like starving for new information, for learning new things. Also, something that I already have seen is like when you get to a certain position and you feel comfortable because, I don't know, you have a nice wage, you have a nice, comfortable life, you kind of feel comfortable in your chair. You do not want to leave your comfort zone. So you stop studying, you stop doing like different things. You like to be in your bubble because it's super comfortable, and you know what to count on. And you do not feel the need to go outside and to expose yourself, because every time you do a conference, every time you write a piece of paper, you are exposing yourself, you are opening yourself to the others, to receive criticism, to receive feedback, and so on. And sometimes people just like to be comfortable. But the thing is, you need to keep, like, if you were like younger, like if you were 18 or 19 and you are still trying to run to find your path, and you need to be like starving for new information. Okay, right, I know how to do this very well. So let me see what's next challenge. For example, as a lawyer, there's so many new legislation coming up from the European Union. So new directives about artificial intelligence, about the Resilience Act, so many things that are coming up every single day. You can be proactive, anticipating the needs. So reading, studying, trying to see how can I help my company if this moves forward, and trying to anticipate yourself, trying to, being hungry to learn more. Or you can just wait till something happens, and then you will run after, and then you will learn if the need comes up, because it can happen that it doesn't come up. Or if it comes up, someone probably will know already how to tackle, and you can just relax and sit back. But that's not something I want to do. I want to be valuable. I want to be the first one in the row. If I was in the army, I was one of the first, probably I was one of the first one to die as well, but I will be one of the first soldiers, opening the path, going, tracking, knowing the territory, knowing exactly where to go. It's difficult, yes. You need to read a lot, and sometimes it's useless because they change it from one moment to the other. Right. But the more you read, the more you study, the more you learn. I keep studying every single day. I keep having language lessons. I don't actually need them, Italian, German, and so on, but I like to have them. I have my phones. Each one is in a different language. It's exactly to force myself to understand each language, and to understand and to handle those in different languages, so that I do not forget, because you forget if you don't practice, right? So pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, that's staying hungry for information, hungry for more. It's painful, yes. It's time consuming, yes. But it's the only way for you to develop. Otherwise, it will stay as a vegetable. It will not.
It's your way of growth.
Exactly. On the other hand, stay humble, because, you can win prizes, you can be very well recognized in your company, in your family, between your friends, in a relationship, for example. But I'm going to focus here on the professional side. But just embrace it. Be proud, open your chest to the challenges, say thank you very much, and be proud of who you are. Don't hide it. I used to have many pictures of my prizes were behind my desk where I work, and that's fine. I embrace it. People sometimes laugh, people make jokes, but I'm super fine with that because I have worked a lot to win those. So I like people to see it, but at the same time, stay humble. I mean, it's like, that you are very worthful. That you have made very important things, but just relax. There's always someone more skilled. There's always more to learn. So stay hungry. Keep your feet on earth, and do not get too fascinated, and do not consume yourself in your own bubble, because there are so many other people that you can learn from, that you can get inspired from. And if you start losing that, you stop being inspirational, and you can start the inverse route, which is not a positive one, because no one gets inspired by someone that it's too self-centered, or if it's too self-focused. Stay humble. Remember who you are. Remember where you came from. There's no shame about that. Always remember where you came from. Assume it, embrace it. Remember how you got there, and remember that there is much, much more to do. So keep working. Don't settle. Because if you are settling because you won 3, 4, 10, 20 prizes, what are you going to do next? You see?
Yeah, beautiful. Now you are very, very, you are a high achieving woman. You are very ambitious, and you are very strong. And I feel this energy and this passion for your work. Work life is not the only life in life. I mean, how do you balance your career ambitions with other things that you want to achieve in life or that you have in life? What else is there for you?
I try to set some boundaries. It's not easy. Okay, I used to say that I'm always available. So if my phone rings at midnight, I'm gonna pick up and I'm gonna answer. But those are for emergency cases. Apart from that, I try to pay myself to do my job during my working hours, and during those I'm totally focused and so on. But when I leave, I try to focus then on other things, on personal life, on sports, on cinema, on reading, on my own studies. Nevertheless, they will be useful for work, of course, but it's for my own growth and development plan. Sometimes it's about not only technical, sometimes it's about emotional intelligence, how to handle difficult conversations. It's about how to become a successful leader. It's about things that are coming up and people are still not very sure how they're going to be handled in, for example, in Portugal or in Spain or in Germany. So I try to set these boundaries, and I try to disconnect. If it rings, I will look at it. But if it doesn't, I try to avoid. Of course, that I need to say the truth. I check my emails at night. I check my emails during the weekend, during vacations, and so on. But if it's not urgent, I will not answer. I only answer if they are urgent, and if I really feel the urge for that. If I do not feel it, I try to avoid, because otherwise you become a slave of your own trap. It's not the others that are setting you a trap. It's yourself.
It's you.
You are trapping yourself, and you cannot blame anyone for that, unless you have that kind of work environment that I do not have, fortunately. So I try to set those boundaries. Sometimes not easy, but well.
Yeah. What advice do you give to, or would you give to young women that are just starting their careers on setting boundaries and asserting themselves professionally? What would be your wise advice?
Well, I think for young professionals that are starting, I would tell them, it's like, try to find whatever position you find in a company, whatever it is, It doesn't need to be the brighter one. It doesn't need to be shiny. It doesn't need to be just whatever you have. Take it, embrace the challenge. Don't be worried if it doesn't have any kind of status quo. Don't be worried if it's not very close to the top, or just focus on what you have to do and do it to perfection. Focus on your own tasks. Don't try to split your attention about looking at what others are doing. Don't try to compare yourself to your peers. Don't try to look over your shoulder. Try to focus on your tasks. Sometimes they are not more interesting ones, and they are never in the beginning. That's normal. We all have been there. We all have done that. So, but focus. Try to master your tasks the best way you can. Because if you do that, and if you put all your effort, and if you keep studying, also have your goal. Doesn't mean that if I'm doing this operational task here, I can have my own goals and I can set goals for 2, 3, 5, 10 years. So, but to achieve those goals, you need to have your growth and development plan, and you need to understand what you need to do. It is, for example, a master degree. Is it an MBA? Is it? So if you feel that you need to do that, start saving your money, for example, because they are not for free. So master your skills, master your daily jobs, your daily tasks, plan for the future, start saving money, for example, if you can start already. So start studying, enroll yourself in a course like that, start going step by step. Don't try to skip or to go over something. Just try to follow the process, because when we are in a hurry, things don't get as good as they should. Step by step. But always keep your plan in mind. Try to put some milestones. So in 1 year, I would like to have completed, for example, this new language. I would like to be level, I don't know, be something. Another milestone, but feasible milestones that you could reach, not super high milestones, otherwise you will just get frustrated. And if you do that in a consistent way, you will become a trustworthy person in your company, and you will start being more visible to the board. You will start being more visible to your colleagues. You will be starting to be, you'll start being the to-go person. And that's the real start for you as a young professional. When you are the go-to person, that's a huge sign that you are succeeding. Even though you were doing just small tasks and very boring tasks, you have succeeded because you have nailed those to the perfection. And then you will be able to move on and to do a step up, level up. So you need to be patient. You need to be resilient. You need to understand that you just cannot start and do huge things. It takes time. It takes effort. And it takes a consistent plan and a consistent approach. It doesn't just come up like that. We all have faced those difficulties, and we have learned from those. So plan consistently, focus, and don't compare yourself to your peers too much, because that can be very frustrating as well. And each person is a different human being. We have different needs, we have different rhythms of learning, and we have different objectives and different goals. And when we start comparing too much, I think that's a huge mistake.
Absolutely. For me, the only way to compare is the comparison between where you were last year and where you are now, or the comparison between where you are now and where you would like to be in the future, because that's the only comparison that is valid and sustainable. And in that area, what leadership qualities do you feel are most relevant or most important for women advancing in their careers?
I think it's consistency, and you need to be predictable. For me, a leader needs to be predictable. It's something that I say, trustworthy and predictable. Imagine it's like, well, today I woke up in a good mood, so I'm going to show up in the office and start greeting everyone with a huge smile and, full of energy. Next day, I woke up in a terrible mood, so I do not open my mouth. People need to know what kind of behavior they will expect, and it should be consistent. So whatever problems you have, whatever things you are facing, you should not carry those to your kind of leadership. Your kind of leadership should be focused about making of course, the business grow, because that's how we pay our salaries and we make the companies develop. But it should be our core business should always be our people. And we should focus on them, on their well-being, on how we can help them developing and how we can serve them. It's about a good leader is a serving leader. It's there to serve and it's there to listen. And if I need to stop doing something important, I will stop to listen to you. And I will always be available. You can always reach me. You can always count. So there is no embarrassment about coming into my desk and ask for something, because it's like it will always be consistent the way I will approach the situations. No bias, no prejudice, no pre-thoughts. Just a consistent way of approaching similar subjects and similar situations, because in that way you become trustworthy. Otherwise, if you are floating from one behavior to other behavior, or if your behavior is depending on other people or in person A or B, then you will lose totally the respect, and that's not the leader that at least I would like to be.
I like to call that presence. And it includes also, like you say, emotion regulation and being very much aware of how you show up and what the impact of your behavior and your communication is on other people. Is it effective? Is it efficient? Is it basically driving the business and driving what we are supposed to do? Absolutely. Yeah. A last question, Fatima. Well, almost. What do you see as the most exciting opportunities and areas for growth for women leaders in the coming years? How do you see the future?
Well, I think that technology is going to have a super role, and it's not very, women are not very familiar with in the majority. So I would say that a big focus on artificial intelligence would be a very good bet for women that are more passionate about this area. And you do not need to be a developer, for example. You can just, for example, be a lawyer and be focused on that. Or there are different perspectives that you can approach the subject, but definitely artificial intelligence would be a good area to work on. Cybersecurity as well. And it's also very male dominated, but it doesn't need to be, because there is nothing like that, that different or that differentiator between male or female. And another area that I really think has a huge potential, it's the environment protection area, because there are not many professionals still in that field of knowledge. And it's more and more required because of this new CSRD directive and this new obligation of companies to report their environment status and so on. So environment would also be a very good bet.
Beautiful. So these are three areas where you feel that women could take up a more dominant role and show their leadership.
Yes.
Is that correct? Awesome. My last question for you, Fatima, if we look at your future self, if we look at Fatima in 3 years, which is like 2027, might sound a strange year or number, but anyway, where would you like to be? How do you feel you will have evolved as a leader, as a person? What's your aspiration?
That's a good question, Elena. I didn't actually think about that. I can see myself working at Critical Tech Works, because there's something that I really like to do, and I really enjoy, and I'm thrilled by what I develop here. I can see myself doing a better bridge with our shareholders, with our stakeholders. I can forecast my role being a key role inside the company, probably in more strategic decisions, or closer to the board, if not in the board, for example, because that's something that I would also put in my to-do list, and I do not think it's impossible. And as a leader, I would like to develop my skills, and I would like to grow in a way that I could be inspiring new people and new, for example, younger females to follow the path and to take the courage that it needs to take to embrace new challenges. So I would like to add something in people's lives in different manners, not only technical, because technical is usually very easy to add. You just need to study and you become the very best in the class. But to add in a more deeper way, in a deeper way, in a way that people will look at you and will search for you. You are the go-to person when it comes to getting some inspiration, looking from the outside, needing some advice. So I think I would see myself doing that.
Beautiful. As you say, we have not prepared this interview because basically it is about you and you had not prepared this question, but you have brought your ambitions and aspirations beautifully. And I believe that for everybody listening or watching this interview, it is so important to be able to explicit without any limitations what you want to become. Because if you have a clear view on what you want to become, and especially also why, and how you can impact other people, what Fatima has brought so beautifully, it is basically your destination. It is your North Star, and it is guiding you in the decisions that you make today. Because you can only become in 1 or 2 or 3 years what you want if you really know what it is and you know what steps that you can take in order to achieve that. And Fatima is a beautiful example of women leadership, of showing up, of being very explicit and put a stake in the ground for what she believes in. And I think this is really also what is so important and relevant for all of us. This is what we want to bring with the Authentic Leadership Roadshow. These examples of women that are inspirational for you, that give you an example of what can be and where you can grow to. And I hope that you see Fatima as a role model. And if you want to find a role model closer to you, maybe a role model / mentor or a mentor, somebody that can support you, that can help you, where you can ask your questions, that is open to share your successes with you, that is also helping you to find your blind spots, like Fatima was mentioning, and support you to make those moves, to make those steps to your future self. And the more concrete image you have, the better you will achieve that. I guess that is basically what we want to bring here. Fatima, one last word to the audience about, women leadership and how we can experience it and how we can support each other in it.
For all the women that are listening to us, just go and support other women. Sometimes this women world can be tricky. Sometimes women just do not behave in the best way because they were not very well treated during their careers. So let's try to make the difference. Let's be the turning point. Let's look around us and let's go and offer help. If they don't come to us, we go to them. Let's create a community of helping each other, of developing proudly the women community in our companies, and make a difference. Because, okay, they didn't make it with us when we were younger, but we are on time to make the difference right now. So let's change our attitude, let's think positive, and let's shake hands and move forward together.
Absolutely. It's about women supporting women. And I invite you, if you want to find a community of like-minded, supportive women, just join my community. It is called Her Space. If you go to my website, that's helenademung.com. That is here at the bottom of this video. You will find a section Her Space, and you are very welcome to join a community of women that are supporting each other and that are learning, growing at their own pace, but constantly and firmly with a destination in mind. And thank you so much, Fatima, for your wisdom, for your gold nudges, for your bold and explicit sharing of your vision and of your mission. I love I don't remember, humble and hungry. I love that because it is basically about embracing paradoxes and feel comfortable with paradoxes, not having to have either or, but combining. And that is a very strong point. Exactly. Absolutely. So thank you so much for what you have brought here today. And for the audience, listen again, take some notes, reflect, let the little seeds be planted in your head and grow. That is basically what I wish for everybody, to grow, because as long as we grow, we are alive and we have an impact. Thank you so much. Bye for
Thank you
now.
very much, Helena. Bye bye. Thank you.